we're ready. I think we're good.
Can I take another quick camera roll?
Let's make sure
Yeah, check it out, Todd.
Todd's happy.
You know what Craig said? If I look like me, forget it. He didn't really say that. At least I don't think so.
Looks great to me.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And Mr. Weissler, we are at your disposal.
All right. Well, Jeff, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you,
Been
too.
a fan forever.
Adam.
And congratulations on all this recent output, as it were. What's this period like for you? This must be kind of a fun period to...
It's different, I'll say that, because, you know, I hadn't had a record out for quite a long time, as you may know, and like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm a bit slow on the uptake. So I finished both these albums just recently, and there's been a big flurry of activity, especially I've just been over in England, and that was really good fun, and I'm hoping it's going to be good over here too.
Yeah. You say 20 years or so, but you've always been busy. You're always doing something during this period of time.
Well, the last 3 years I've been working on these two albums, which is 6 days a week, you know, for 3 years. So it's a labour of love. It was just something I really wanted to do, those old songs on longwave. I just couldn't resist it. And I tell you what, it's been like university to me. It's made me into a much better musician, learning those songs, every single instrument on them, learning how to play all the bits. And that was so much fun in itself, but then, you know, putting all the vocals on, the harmonies, it was really a real learning treat for me. I feel much more accomplished now than I did before.
That's interesting, because at this point in your career, you don't think you would need that. What is the thrill in still learning and still gaining new musical knowledge at this point?
Because those old songs have got wonderful chords, absolutely astonishing words, like brilliant, and the bass parts are always fantastic to play. So it's just a treasure, you know, and a pleasure just to mess with them.
Yeah. How difficult in choosing the right songs for this record?
Well, it was difficult. You know, I actually made enough for two volumes, really, but you know, I thought that was a bit of a stretch, as it was musically for me. It was hard, but a lot of them were just obvious to me because they were always stuck in my mind from when I was a kid, you know. My dad used to have the radio on 24 hours a day, basically, as far as I remember. And it was radio, it would be the BBC radio, and it would be on longwave.
Yeah.
And it was that lovely old sound of, you know, nice warm bottom and not much top.
Yeah. And
I used to love that, you know, you grow to love it, obviously. And now the BBC do actually transmit on longwave on the computer, just so you can check the sound of it, you know, it's the old-fashioned sound. It doesn't sound much different, actually, now you think about it. But, yeah, that was all what that was about.
And having this completed, the love for these songs and love for that period of your life must be an exceptionally proud feeling to have these songs completed.
It's great to have them finished, you know, and you see there's the middle and there's the start and there's the end, and it was... Before, it was like, as I was listening to them to start learning them, I thought, will I ever be able to play this stuff? It's like so complicated. But as soon as you just learn the guitar part and don't put all the arrangements on, like all the flutes and the clarinets, that's what all the complicated stuff is. The tune is as simple as you can be, and it's just marvellous to actually find out exactly how they work and, you know, how they're constructed. And just a treat, really.
And as a listener, some of the best of your output over the years, your original music, is that dichotomy between these great melodies that could be as simple as can be, and then you've added so much to them over the years, or not, but that kind of, like you were just talking about, how much of that has been important to you over the years to kind of blend that? You make it seem seamless, but I know a lot of work goes into that process.
Well, yeah, doing arrangements and stuff on the old ELO songs that I wrote, that came sort of along with the tune, really. You know, my tunes are much more, much simpler, I thought, than these old, say for instance, Richard Rodgers tunes. And I'm not saying I'm anywhere near him, I'm not, sorry about that, if you thought that, but no. I'm just talking about the way I do things, and so when you see these masters do it, what they actually did, how they worked it out, and the lyricist, it's just one step ahead above everybody else, you know, one step above everybody else, one notch, one rung above everybody else.
But you've fallen into that line now of great songwriters along with these guys.
Well, it's very kind of you, but you know, I do my best, and I've got some good ones, and you know, some not so good ones, you know, like we all have.
Sure.
Like even they have, you know, the real old pros, you know, the brilliant guys that I'm trying to learn from, and yeah, I suppose it's just I don't see my songs probably as anybody else sees them, you know, because they're always mine. I go, oh, I wish I got that bit a bit better, you know.
Right.
Which is the reason I recorded Mr. Blue Sky, the very best of. Because I used to listen to them on the radio, those old ELO songs, and go, I'm not sure. I thought it was better than that, you know, and it obviously wasn't better than that, because that's how it sounded. And I'd listen to them on the radio, you know, if I'm in driving or something, and there comes one, I think, not enough punch, not enough top, you know, it's all clouded over. And one of the reasons for that is basically the way I actually made the records, which was a bit naughty, but I did it anyway. But it's like, I used to do them on 16 track and then 24 track, but you always have to bounce down, because I used so many instruments on those records, different silly bits and good bits, but it filled up so many tracks that I would have to keep bouncing the tracks in on themselves. And so you lose a bit of quality like that, because the top end starts to go as the oxide starts to wear out, and then you can see through the bloody tape. You know, oh God, I think I've maybe overdone this one a bit, you know.
Right. So it's just a matter of the technology now having caught up to your vision and your skill at this point.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Now I've got 100 tracks to play with, you know, and if I can't get them on there, then pack it in.
Right. And obviously, this comes from you still having love for these songs, else this wouldn't be taking place. And how much do these songs still mean to you for you to put in the work to make these the way you want them?
They mean the world to me, obviously, because they're my little pals, you know, that I've had since 40 years at least, these songs, and they mean a lot, and that is why I wasn't particularly happy in the last few years, but just listening to it like that, I wanted to make them with more clarity and more punch, and you know, just to make them feel alive a bit more. And you know, it was a hard thing to do, probably, but I knew them inside out and backwards because I wrote them, and I've been playing them on stage for years, you know, so I did. It was no trouble to play them again and just get them tighter and to sound a bit better.
Yeah, so now in hearing this final album, what's that like for you as someone who's lived with these songs for 30, 40 years, some of these things?
When I hear them now, I'm pleased with them, and I go, yeah, that's better. And that's what I meant the first time round.
We're going to help. Is there a great need now for you to get these songs out? I'm sure you want people now to hear these. It's not just for you personally. You want people to hear.
You know, obviously, as a songwriter, you always want people to hear your songs.
Yeah.
These songs have been around a long time, and they still get played, and which is amazing to me, because I just thought, you know, if you just get in the charts the first time you do them, you know, wow, you got to number 10, that's great. You know, you think that is all you care about, really, is that you get them out for people to hear them. And of course, if they hear them again for the next 40 years, that's great by me.
Yeah. These songs mean so much to so many people. How much input have you gotten from people over the years? I know you're not always out and about doing shows, and people always want to see you play, but in terms of what you hear, in terms of the other artists and fans, it must be just a tremendous outpouring over the decades.
I get a lot of compliments. Yeah, I do, actually. And most people say that my music makes them feel up, you know, it gives them a lift, which is, you know, surprising in some ways, and I'm just very glad it does, because I'd rather not bring anybody down to the ground. I'd rather lift them up, you know.
Sure. But there is a melancholy to your music as well, and that yearning and that sweetness to your vocals and the songs and the melodies. And Joe, our camera guy, mentioned something like Ticket to the Moon and like the Fall Off Xanadu, like that period, these songs. That what do those songs mean to you personally, looking back at some of those kind of yearning, sadder songs in a way?
Really, they've all got a tinge of that, you know, but people always look on the bright side of it, you know, as Eric Idle says, you know, always look on the bright side of life. And they somehow make them to be happy tunes, and I don't know how to answer that, really. I don't know. I don't know.
But these are personal songs in a lot of ways. People may not even know the stories behind a lot of these songs, but a lot of these songs are snapshots of your life in some way.
Very few, actually.
Yeah.
Most of them are just, I make them up, you know, okay, what's this about? It's about so-and-so.
Sure.
And then it's sort of a fiction thing, but then, of course, the things that happen in your life get into the songs, in certain parts of the song, or inspire it, or, you know, literally inspire it. Like Mr. Blue Sky, I was actually in Switzerland, and it was cloudy all the time. I just got there, I'd been there about a week.
Yeah.
Didn't see any views at all. And one day, bang, the whole thing wide open, the blue sky and the sunshine and all these mountains going on forever, of course. And it inspired Mr. Blue Sky, so that was a literal inspiration.
Do you have inspirations like that on a daily or weekly basis still that you just are dying to get on tape somehow that may stick with you for years before they have the opportunity? Or
I don't really get that many inspirations. That was quite a rare one, Mr.
Yeah,
Blue Sky,
okay.
because it was such an obvious thing to happen.
Sure.
And it just came to me. But it's a lot of sweat involved. It's like they say, 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration.
Right.
And you do have to work at it. Unfortunately, it doesn't come like, oh, aren't I gifted? You've got to work your thingies off sometimes to get
Right.
it finished and get it really good. It's not easy. I would never say it was easy in a million years. It isn't. It's hard.
Sure, but the rewards are plentiful for.
The rewards are great, yeah.
Yeah.
And when people, like you said, when they come up to me and say, "Oh, I love your music," and it does please me a lot and helps me out in many ways.
Sure.
That's a fantastic thing because that wasn't a part of the deal. You know what I mean? It's a wonderful little extra thing that happens.
What's the attention like for you? 'Cause you spend so many years behind the scenes on some of the greatest records, along with your own records you've produced, obviously, for Tom Petty and George Harrison and others.
The Traveling
as well.
Wilbur.
Traveling Wilburys that you were out there in the front with those guys. But what's it like all those years behind the scenes? How much fun is it to get yourself out in front of the scenes and doing interviews? You don't do this kind of thing too often, obviously. Is it fun
No.
to pop out on occasion and remind everyone about your legacy and how great your music is?
Well, I wouldn't say it was fun exactly, but it's something that I want to do because I do want people to know that these songs are out there, the new versions and, of course, Longwave, because I'm so proud of Longwave. It's my favourite record I ever made, I think.
Wow, yeah.
And I think that's because I don't have to judge the songs. I can just leave them alone
Sure.
because they were already brilliant. I know that. I didn't have anything to do with that.
Is it easier to re-record the old stuff and look back at the old stuff when you are moving forward with new music? Is it easier to be out there and talk about music when you have something?
Yeah,
New as well.
If I didn't have anything new, it would be quite difficult,
Sure.
to come up with anything to talk about, unless you want to talk about football or something. But no, not really. It's what would I say?
How often do you hear your influence on a daily basis? Do you still have your ear out there to other musicians? I know a lot of people have looked to you as an influence. Do you hear that?
Well, a lot of the time, when you're making a new record, like I just have been these two records, and I've also written 8 new songs and recorded them for my new album, which is brand new tunes. And I don't really listen to the radio that much because I've been 3 years solid in the studio, and you tend not to want to listen to other music when you're working on your own
Sure.
stuff because it's always in there. You're thinking about words or you're thinking about chord changes, and I want to change that bit there. So it's like if you listen to the radio, it's like an interruption for the time being.
This new project, would that be Jeff Lynne in name or ELO in name? Or?
It'll be Jeff Lynne probably.
Yeah. People, what do you want people to know about ELO that maybe they never quite understood? People look back, they think of maybe some people think of the concerts, they think of a certain pop song. Is there any misconceptions about the legacy of ELO that are important to you to?
Not really. I'm just, amazed people have still heard of it after all these years. That's probably what it is.
Are you happy with the band's place in kind of rock and music history? Do you feel like the credit's there that it deserves? Because amongst my friends, anyone you talk to, they always have wonderful things to say, and they're some of the greatest songs of all time. But
Wow.
just wondering how you personally are.
Amazing, huh? I think it's done well. I'm not saying that it gets too much acclaim or not enough. It's just what it is, and I have to be happy with that, and I am. I'd much rather be like that than to be like overblown at the top and then come crashing down. It's much better just to be steady.
Yeah, steady, and I think in a good way, people are always revisiting your music and
Yeah, that's a great thing. I love that.
taking something away. Obviously, your friendship with the Beatles over the years. Are you still in contact with Ringo and Paul? And
Yeah, I see Ringo and Paul occasionally, and that's always fun. I love to hang out with Paul. He's a great guy, and we have a good laugh. And I have produced him too,
Sure.
as well as the Beatles. But I've produced a lot of stuff.
yeah, anyone else you'd still love to work with that maybe you haven't had the chance? I know you work with just about anyone you probably ever wanted to. And
I probably have
Vice
actually,
versa.
but there are still a couple. But I'd keep them to myself, otherwise they'll go, oh, I'm not working with him, he blabbed about me.
We'll wait for that, for the special announcement.
Yeah.
And as far as just the scope of your music over the years, I just wonder just where that, obviously you have this great work ethic, but just that ambition and to go big in so many ways, from the concerts to the scale of the sound, just kind of where that came from when songs like Longwave are simple in so many ways, and these were the songs you grew up listening to. Where did that grand scope come from and that desire for you?
You know, probably from a bit of classical music. That I used to like classical music at that time a little bit. You know, I still like classical music, of course. But that was really it, really, was just the idea of just having these strings always on it and being part of the group. Nobody had actually tried that, really. They'd tried experiments at it, but never tried doing it all the time. It's bloody difficult and all. It's not the greatest fun you can have, because when you first started out, the technology wasn't very good. You know, there was nothing to use. There was pickups, and the PAs were not very good. You know, so it was difficult.
Yeah. And now that people can kind of phony that up in lots of technological ways.
Even I could, so I'm not going to bother.
Very good. Well, Jeff, congratulations.
Thank you,
Great
Adam.
honor to meet you.
Cheers, thanks.
Great music.
Yeah, I had one for you, Adam, just
Yeah.
for a personal experience. You know, I actually was playing your album at the time, and my daughter, who just turned 13,
Yeah.
happened to hear it. And of course, you know there's a generation out there that have no idea music passed beyond and
Yeah.
exists. So she hears this, and she's enthralled. She asks who it was, and I told her ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, and it sparked an interest in her. Can you speak to the hidden potential of ELO's treasure chest being opened up in the future, and looking back on it, how it plays in a role in history of rock and roll?
Can I do that?
Yeah, yes, you talk to Adam too.
Oh, that's really difficult, that one. Blimey, your kid's got a big question. That's a
Well,
big...
just how your music is going to wind up influencing or grab interest in a generation that hasn't heard it as something different from what they hear now.
Well, my music is sort of, some people know it really well, some people probably don't know it very well at all. And this is the hardest question I've ever had, I'll tell you.
But it'll be timeless, and a generation from now, hopefully people will be still
Hopefully.
listening to
Well,
ELO
it's lasted
songs.
this long, which is, I'm amazed that it's lasted this long. And so I think it'll last a bit longer, yeah. I got a feeling it will, because there's certain elements of it, like Mr. Blue Sky, that never seem to go out of fashion. It always becomes popular. And a lot of kids, like my friends' kids and stuff, who are kind of that age, 13 and so, they've started listening to my stuff as well, you know, and that's a great thing, because I would love them to get into it and, you know, just listen to what it was all about.
And
What
songs
it
like
is all about.
songs like "Living Thing" and "Don't Bring Me Down" that end up in films, popular films last few years. What's that like for you as an artist to see your music?
It's great. You know what I love? It's really silly, but I love those little boxes at the end of the film where it says your name and the who wrote it.
Right.
You know, the title and who wrote it. I've always wanted one of those. You know, because I've got gold discs, but I'd never had one of those things at the bottom of a film. Anyway, I got one of those. Well, I got lots of those now, so I'm looking for a new thing.
I'm sure you'll come up with it. All right, Jim.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
Thank you.